Look, I really think that the underlying driver here, and what you and I discuss a lot about, is we want to get to truth. Truth sets you free. If truth hurts, it's because you're holding on to lies as your identity and you just refuse to be adaptive and allow the friction to be removed between you and the truth.
Right.
Right. So truth only hurts when you're holding on to a lie as if it has to be true. So if you really, really love truth, you would soften and you'd be able to become that which can leverage that truth to be set free. Truth sets you free. And I think I say that because then maybe that helps us build more confidence, to be vulnerable, to have more courage, to come to the center, because the center is saying you may be right, you may be wrong. Absorb the data. Take in the information more and more and more to be informed, right? To be informed. Because if you're not informed, there is no truth. Get informed. But, each side already knows everything, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean,
each side already knows everything that needs to be known.
That's the tricky
They
part.
got the labels for the other side to make it easy, to put them in the right boxes they deserve to be in.
Oh man, that the truth will set you free. It can be a double-edged sword, because some people who are disillusioned that their truth is the truth, they will say, as I come to Christianity,
it will set you free.
It will set you free. The truth will set our truth will set you free. And then you go, well, then there's that other truth that you talked about, which is more universal truth.
But that's more pseudo-logic.
Yeah.
See, our truth, right?
Yeah.
When you say I might be right, I might be wrong, let me walk in to the space of being neutral.
Yeah.
Our religion doesn't do that. Religion doesn't say I might be wrong.
You can't.
My religion is right.
You're so right. You're so right when you say that.
Yeah. So it's not really a truth thing. It's I've already got all the truth I need.
And you need to figure out your life in this construct, on this set of truths, which is in this book.
Yeah.
So there's no room for wiggle.
Yeah. What's interesting? It's like interpretation is so huge because 5 people can read the same text and interpret it differently. And that's what I find interesting about, scripture and the metaphors and in between meaning in scripture. It's like one's getting it literally, one's getting it metaphorically, one's enrolling contextual, historical references of what those words mean back then. One's using fractals to understand what are the patterns being alluded to. Because this is a teaching around the cycles of behavior of humans and how to align better for virtuous living. So did you see how I just made up 5 lenses already?
Yeah.
That's going to bias how you decode the words.
Yeah.
And so when the Bible at the beginning said, "This is the word, and no one can tamper with these words," something along those lines. I'm definitely paraphrasing. I just looked at that, shook my head, and went, a human wrote that to manipulate. Because it's like there's only one way to interpret this. The words are bulletproof, one way to interpret. Everyone's going to know the truth just by reading the words as they're written. It's like, what? You lost me at one-dimensional interpretations, trying to put a halo of perfection on the Bible when every person interpreting it could end up killing someone else because they got the opposite interpretation as the other one.
And that's what happens with words. You are bound to misinterpret words. I can say I'm hungry. If someone says he's horny, he's hungry for sex, or he's hungry for death, he wants to kill someone, he is hungry for peace. So, words are just meant, it's just, anyway.
And all the translations as well, from the ancient language to the English language. And, King James having a crack at his own interpretation for his own political needs and ideologies. I was like, come on, there's so many layers of baking new interpretations of the Bible. Even the word Elohim, those from the sky.
I have no idea what that means. What does that mean?
God.
Oh.
But if you looked at the original word Elohim, those in the sky. So it wasn't even a plural to one.
Right.
And sky is not really about it's up there. Sky is it's beyond the realm of where we are. But you have to really loosen up a little and start to understand that if you're going to read anything, you just got to start to, why has this scripture withstood the test of time? Because obviously there's something in it, right? But look at the mess we've made with it. Look at the different religions that have fought each other off its base, And what is that scripture? The scripture then gets collated, right? So you got all these gospels and they go, all right, that's called the Bible. And then you got all these other, journalistic reports. Oh, that's the Quran. And then you got all that. Oh, that's what's that? Jewish Judaism.
I forgot.
Anyway, So the point is, everyone's collating some form of, representation of a movement of truth and then you look and you see all the common threads through all of them, right? You see all common threads and you see how they interconnect, but then you also see the tangent of branding that they decided to hang their hat on as an identity.
Yeah.
And because of that, once again, the playbook, make any constructive meaning your identity, and you're going to defend it as if it's a visceral attack on your existence.
Yeah. To protect that brand.
Because that's you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to die.
And I find that interesting because, like you said, the 5 personas, there's about 3 different churches in Perth that preaches completely different. One is accepts gays and, and then the other one is more conservative. These are usually the old people in there. And then there's another one that's youth, it's about music and about, so it's all different brands, and it's
marketing.
And then I have family, I know people who choose, like, when the whole gay thing erupted, there was this one church that just bagged it so badly. So a few people that I know left and went to a different one, which is like moderate.
Yeah.
And said, look, because it was a big thing. Everyone was talking about gays and LGBTs. And the one that succeeded was the one that's sort of neutral, because, succeeded with like 40-year-olds and below.
Yeah.
Are the ones that are sort of, you can be it. Don't promote it, like sort of like a neutral thing. And it was so interesting that the brand evolves, depending on the social construct at that location.
Another big issue that I haven't spoken about a lot is Muslim. Being Islam and Muslim, right?
God. Yeah.
So when I was in,
I'm Muslim, by the way.
Yeah. So when I was in Lebanon, right? Muslims were trying to kill Christians, right?
Yeah.
And they came after my grandfather and father by name to kill them. And my grandmother hid them in a female public toilet. And they came into the male looking for them, didn't find them, didn't think to go into the female because it's very sexist ideology. It's like, you don't go into female.
I'm going to kill someone, but I can't go into the female toilet.
Social constructs, blind spots. So then what I know of that is my grandfather, being Christian, he started a restaurant in the mountains, the first restaurant in this village in Lebanon, and most of his customers were Muslim. And every time I looked at my uncles and everyone, they had Muslim friends. So here we are escaping Lebanon, and we've got Muslim friends there. We've got Muslim friends when we come to Australia. And then I'm raised with school, lots of Muslims, around me, and I'm fine with them and we're all good. And then it's same as uni. And then I think to myself, wow, like what's going on there? When you get down to the ground, everybody just looks in each other's eyes and says, I just want love and I just want to be there for you. And I don't want to let ideology get in the way because I see the kindness in how you treat me. And we don't let those ideas of division play a role. But when brainwashing captures radicals, the division is extreme. right? So, but then we get a little bit compromised with that because we go, oh shit, I can't go against the radicals because I'm in the lineage of that faith and I don't want to be seen as someone who's betraying,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can't support them because I don't agree with what they're doing. I just want to get on with everybody, And so I had to, in my own mind, go, I get it. It's not about people. It's about we're all getting compromised with ideation clusters into movements pitched against each other. So I have a history of a bomb killing a girl and I witness it. And so I'm in a war at 4 years old. I'm watching a girl get killed. Yeah, I saw the bomb hit and I freaked out. I was on the veranda. And so and then they killed a Christian man who his children used to play with me in my grandma's courtyard. And I saw the bloodstains in the courtyard and the shells where they executed him for being Christian. So I have this history.
Oh my gosh, did not know that.
The thing is, Aslan, I have this history and I just know that it does not represent Muslim people. But most people don't have that experience. Most people carry the trauma and associate it and then have that resentment. Do you know what I mean? So people are quietly dissing the other side amongst each other, but they dare not do it in public because it's not right. Look what happened in New South Wales against that Jewish guy and the Bankstown Hospital couple who literally were taunting him and saying that if he'd come as a patient, they would have ended his life for being Israeli. Did you see that in the media? It blew up, right?
It blew up.
So you got all this crazy stuff going on. And I went, you know what? I spent too much time trying to understand my journey, my life, and understanding why we're all suffering and trying to find meaning in our life. And eventually I was able to resolve this weird situation of escaping a country, but having genuine friendships with Muslims and Christians and Jews and going.
That's very commendable.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why is there such a different world in the media and in politics compared to the neighbors that are there for each other?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, so it's great that you took that approach because you could have gone the other way, So well done. Well done on you for having that insight to go,
I could have become a Christian zealot.
Yeah, you could have. Doug, I want to ask another question that is sort of related to the center.
Yeah.
The healing of both sides.
Yeah.
Why do you think that woke culture is demonized? Because woke culture, well, from my limited understanding, it is about people who... So woke culture, in my understanding, is that people are trying to be more understanding towards each other, but that's demonized now by the conservatives.
Yeah, that's right.
So is woke culture an attempt to try to bring people to the center?
No, it isn't.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
It's, if you did do that, you'd be leaning into the conservatives with love. That's not happening.
Right.
It's judgment and persecution and belittling. And so the woke culture will preach harmony while they are incredibly vicious to the conservatives. And the conservatives preach Christian values while they are so unchristian to the woke culture. It's farcical.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
I call it a clusterfuck.
Wow, because that's what I thought woke culture was. I thought woke culture was an attempt to heal the rift, but then you're right. They use it as a weapon.
No. In the moderate band, yes. But when you're getting demonized by the other side, you end up getting emblazoned and double down into more extremes in rebellion, and you lose the purity of your movement.
Yes.
Initially, woke means to be awake. Like, what's wrong with woke as a beautiful term? It's like you're waking up to what matters. that we're all there for each other. We all got to tolerate our differences. We all got to harmonize. But then who co-opts that? Socialism. Socialism says no individual matters. We all have to just accept what top-down tolerance. Everyone has to be tolerant, but it's a top-down. It's not about now individual up. What I like about conservatives is they believe in personal agency. They say, let the person be free to make choices every day.
Unless they're trans.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. and then the other side go, yeah, but we also need to top down protect and reverse damage of areas of discrimination that have become systemized. You with me?
Yeah.
Including systemized racism, because we don't realize we're racist, that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
The problem with all this is that in the extremes, neither one has any value anymore. It's only when you consolidate the two together, but they're not negotiating. They are polarizing. And so remember I said to you a couple of conversations back, I said to you, I thought I was a centrist. I thought I was in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I started to feel like I was being positioned as if I'm on the right because I was agreeing with moderate right because the institutions of media and government, the far left, got control, and therefore the moderate right were becoming more reasonable to counterbalance what was going on with the woke institutionalized push of so many ideologies in an extreme format without consolidating them into balance in the way they were being represented.
Right.
And I thought, what happened? I thought I was a bit on the left, but then I didn't want to be. I want to be in the middle. And then suddenly I'm on the right. And it was because the Overton window shifted, right?
The Overton?
Yeah, so an Overton window is where in any given time in society when you've got people representing the left and right, if one side is able to consolidate into the institutions, they start to push their way as if that's the center.
Yeah.
And then that shifts the window. But what happens is they're not really the center. And so you might be in the middle, but if they start pushing it that way, you become the left. The left. If you push the other way, you become the right. And so you're just there trying to, critically think and try to find out how we can get on with each other and be balanced. And then suddenly people are literally demonizing you. Because if you're in the middle to the extreme right, you're the left.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. So it's all relativity. It's all relativity to which ideas are dominating at the time.
So interesting because I have the same feeling now. I don't even know if I'm right or left anymore.
Yeah, and look, calling yourself a centrist is dandy, but it's not easy because we're a work in progress.
Yeah,
I remember saying that a while ago. We're just a work in progress. So you might think you're balanced, you might think you're in the center, and then you find out you weren't. So what do? You start to move to the center from the discovery. So it's just a process. It's not a place. Come to the center is come to the process.
Yes.
To deal with the extremes.
I like it.
Which is probably good. I should say it that way. It's a shame those lyrics didn't make it into the song.
We can always update it.
Yeah.
But how you interpret. Oh, that's really, really good. I feel like that's come full circle now because now we've talked about a lot of interesting things that relate to the main theme.
Yeah.
I was going to make a joke about the Bible, but I don't want to. I'll just park that. I was about to say, plot twist, the Bible was wrote by a trans. But anyway, didn't seem appropriate.
You said that out loud, right?
Well, I know. I'm going to get into trouble for this.
Why? Why would you get in trouble?
Oh, because I'm surrounded by Christians? That's probably why. And their kids watch this show.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds watching shows like this.
Really?
In my time.
Good on you guys. I'm so chuffed that you're joining in the conversation on, on these sort of topics.
Uncle Aslan is not that crazy. Okay. Just I have a sensible side.
No, he has a crazy mode.
Oh, yes,
we already know that.
I do. But it was all over Facebook, my crazy mode, and I was so embarrassed about it. My friend took videos and anyway, what time is it?
So you know what to do? We should say ciao for now, end it here, and then maybe we play the song at the end of the podcast to finish the podcast.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us this week. And we'll see you guys next week. I thought it was really interesting. Thanks, George.
Absolute pleasure to unpack the dangerous conversations that can get you cancelled. Bye for now.
Ciao, ciao.
So, false alarm, we're just extending. Okay. Look, so I often thought about this, and it does fit into the extremes where you lose the value. Here's how, right?
Yeah.
When you've got inertia for the wrong way of operating that has biased in a very habitual way towards a certain race, a certain sex, for positions. Yeah. So therefore, and then the way you raise people, even parenting, you are inadvertently telling your children what roles they're going to be capable of doing and what roles you're not going to support. Mm-hmm. So, and then the school system does it accidentally because everybody's talking about, oh, boys do this, girls do this. And so there's this systemic nurturing of having a lot less representation of a certain type of person into certain roles, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you look at woke, it's this sense of, hey, guys, can we as a human race outgrow these habitual ways of marginalizing? Because you don't need muscles, you don't need bone density for a woman to fly a plane. You just don't, right?
Yeah.
As an example. So then what happens is governments get these great ideas, go, we will create a quota and that will force top down everyone to have to adapt and find ways to bring more women in. Now, initially when you do that, it's a big problem because you say, oh no, I want 10 women to be pilots. Mm-hmm. 50 men or 100 men applied and only 20 women applied. And then when you screen them all, you have to literally accept 5 women who are not as good as the men, right? Yeah. So we know that's a dilemma because they're underrepresented to begin with.
Yes.
But the top-down policy is forcing people. Okay, now, that is dangerous. We know, but adversity creates innovation. In other words, when you are caught in a situation that's that bad, mm-hmm. you have to dig deep and find ways to overcome it. So now, because you don't want to have dangerous airlines, I don't know why I'm giving this as an example, but because you don't want to have danger by having less competent pilots, you will go, what can we do to make sure that this weakness in this phase is not going to be exploited by our current systems, our current technology, our recruitment, our harvesting of new recruits into the future. And so everybody is forced to start to innovate ways to make sure there's more women applying, and of the women applying, they're fit for purpose at proper standards. So then over time, that top-down draconian quota stuff, mm-hmm. it starts to actually, only because we had to, it starts to force us to fix things.
Right.
But you can't overdo it. Yeah. Because we are human and there's only so much innovation we can pull off. And it's not acceptable to have 100, 200, 300 people die in a plane because of your idealistic nonsense of we need more women as pilots. So it's all well and good to see the value of one side, but you got to go, how do we do it in balance? How do we make sure that the quotas are a stretch that's manageable and we take our time over time and we don't have people stomping saying, no, we're going to have equality tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's wrong. It's wrong to feel you can force people to innovate and update everything and solve the problems in a short enough time without endangering lives.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, the example that I gave was the work example where, there's a 50-50 quota for each department to get male and female, and the managers will get their bonus if you get the balance right. And then a lot of people are being kicked out of their roles because, even though they're
incentivized to get their quota from top down.
And so the male people who got kicked out got angry. They were pissed. I mean, and then word spread like, oh, this woman doesn't know what she's doing. She's coming to this role, no experience whatsoever. I've been here for 10 years, and just because we have to fill the quota. And
my gosh.
Yeah.
Aslan, that poor woman, because the system is extreme,
yes,
she now is literally being scapegoated, put into the cooking pot on a high temperature. And she's going, I'm not getting any support. I'm getting undermined.
Correct.
People don't like
Correct.
me. And
she's not built up for success.
Yeah, she's set up to fail.
Correct.
So that, guess what happens? Then the guys get to say, see? Told ya,
yeah.
Men are more capable. But the truth is the system was wrong. They went too extreme on quotas. It should have been, how do we, on the entry of children through schools, through tertiary, through
all the way up,
clubs, how do we nurture them into confidence, leadership, and the competencies so that we bring a wave in that solves the problem?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And not just force it.
Yeah.
It's
so sad that because this lady couldn't sustain it, and obviously so she left.
This is the problem.
And then the male will go, I told you.
I know. All because of extremes. It's completely out of balance.